Have you ever looked at a new law, one that was supposed to fix everything, and just watched it fizzle? Or have you noticed how the real rules for getting things done at work or in any group have almost nothing to do with the official rulebook? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden forces that make or break our laws. I mean, it's the ultimate question, right? We're constantly trying to engineer a better world with new laws. We want to make things fairer, safer, you name it. But so often, they just don't stick. Or worse, they create totally bizarre, unexpected problems. So what's going on? What is this invisible force that seems to be pushing back? To get to the bottom of this, we first have to look at two totally different ways of thinking about what law can even do. Is it this all-powerful tool, or is it kind of just an illusion? Okay, so on one hand, you've got this idea of social engineering. The thinking here is that law is like a powerful machine that we can use to literally reshape society. But then there's a much more skeptical view. This camp argues that no, society's own rules, its customs, its relationships, are way stronger than any new law you can dream up. They say it's society that controls the law, not the other way around. So, to see this epic tug-of-war in action, we're going to leave the theory behind. Let's step into a fascinating high-stakes world, the high-fashion garment district in New York City. So, picture this. It's a crazy, fast-paced business. You've got the jobber who comes up with the dress designs, you've got the contractor who runs the shop where it all gets sewn together, and watching over everyone is the union agent, making sure the official contract is followed to the letter. It's this really delicate dance between all these moving parts. And right here is where it gets wild. Here's the big secret, the paradox at the heart of the industry. Everybody, and I mean everybody, routinely breaks the legally binding union contract. Why? Well, it's simple. The fashion business is so seasonal and so fast that if they actually followed every single rule about wages and hours, nobody would make a dime. The entire industry would just collapse. Okay, so how do you manage a system where everyone has to break the rules just to survive? You build what are called fictive friendships. Now, let's be clear, these are business deals through and through, but they're all wrapped up in the language of friendship, the favors, the gifts, the personal check-ins. It's the grease that keeps the illegal wheels of the machine turning smoothly. So here's what those unwritten rules look like on the ground. The union agent, just happens to overlook some overtime violations. In return, the contractor gives him some nice whiskey for the holidays, maybe a custom dress for his wife. The contractor also helps out the jobber by not demanding to be paid right away, basically giving him an interest-free loan. In this world, your legal rights, like the right to enforce a contract or the right to get paid on time, become bargaining chips in a complex game of give and take. These are the real rules of the game. So, what do we call this hidden world of unwritten rules and wink and nod agreements? Well, it turns out there's a name for it. It's a concept from the anthropologist Sally Falkmore, and honestly, it is a total game changer for understanding how the world actually works. She called it the semi-autonomous social field. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea is absolutely brilliant. A social field is basically any group of people, like the garment industry, that can make up its own rules and, crucially, find ways to make people follow them. But, and this is the semi part, it's not totally independent. It still exists within and has to deal with the larger world of official government-made law. Let's just break that down real quick. So a social field can make its own rules, and it has its own ways of enforcing them, not with cops and courts, but with social pressure, the threat of losing business or getting a bad reputation. But at the same time, it can be poked and prodded by outside forces, like a new state law. Think of it like a gear in a giant clock. It spins according to its own logic, but it's still connected to and limited by all the other gears in the machine. Now, here's what's so cool. This idea doesn't just apply to industries in big cities. To really see how powerful this concept is, we're going to jump halfway around the world to a totally different setting. The Chaga people who live on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. For the Chaga, the social field that matters most isn't about work. It's what's called the lineage neighborhood complex. This is just a fancy way of saying it's their super powerful, deep-rooted network of family ties, land rights, and duties to one another. For generations, these have been the rules that really govern day-to-day life. So what happens when a brand new government tries to impose its will? In 1963, a new law declared that all land now belongs to the state. No more private ownership. That sounds like a massive revolutionary change, right? Well, on the ground, almost nothing changed. In fact, because land was so scarce, the old kinship rules about who got to use which plot of land actually became even stronger. The social field just sort of absorbed the law and kept right on going. Let's take another example. The government set up a new local political system called 10 House Cells. But guess what happened? This new structure was just slapped on top of the old existing social field. Sure, someone got the new title of cell leader, but the real authority, the person you went to for a dispute over land or money, was still the traditional kinship leader.
This just illustrates the point perfectly. At one point, the government officially abolished the office of local chiefs. So their formal power was gone. But did that actually erase their influence? Not a chance. These families still had all the real power, more money, better education, and these incredibly strong social networks. That informal power, the very core of their social field, turned out to be way more resilient than any formal title the government could give or take away.
And that's the key thing to realize here. These semi-autonomous social fields aren't just in some faraway place or a niche industry. They are everywhere. They're all around us, all the time, quietly shaping everything. So just think about it for a second. Where do you see this in your own life? Where are the unwritten rules just as important, or maybe even more important than the official ones? Think about your job. Yeah, there's an employee handbook, but the real rules about how to get ahead are all about the workplace culture. That's a social field. Or think about an online gaming community. There are terms of service, but there's also a powerful code of conduct about what's cool and what's not. Same thing for professional groups, sports leagues, even your homeowners association. Each one is its own little world, generating its own rules. And that, right there, is the big takeaway. If you really want to understand why things happen the way they do, you have to look past the laws written on paper. You have to learn to see the social field. That's where the real action is. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. If you truly want to change something in the world, what's the better strategy? Is it writing another new law, or is it figuring out how to change the unwritten rules of the social field itself? The answer to that question might just change everything.